Becoming carbon literate is one of the, if not the hottest topic in marketing and communications right now. Becoming certified carbon literate is very much a badge of honor, really, for any marketer or PR or communicator. And indeed, any business person really who is looking to really stamp their credentials on the most important thing that we can all be doing, which is being good both for our organizations, but also for the planet and people around us. So in this webinar, I'm going to explore what it means to become carbon literate, the journey that you can take should you choose to accept this challenge and this mission, and also really, really importantly, the importance of taking accountability and ownership, because saying, oh, well, this is for somebody else to do really doesn't sort of hold water anymore. So we need to be really stepping up as marketers and communicators. And I'm going to share with you a lot of the reasons why that is absolutely essential right here, right now. So what is carbon literacy? I mean, we have to start obviously with a bit of a definition, really. And Sir David Attenborough says that whenever and wherever we restore the wild, we capture carbon and strike balance. So we've all heard these phrases, climate crisis, and the like. And for a lot of us, it feels a little bit out of touch. It feels a little bit too big for us to really make a difference. But the key thing about carbon literacy is and right at the core of it, is the understanding that it starts with us as individuals. And every little thing that we do makes an incremental difference to the world around us. So that's the starting point, is that accountability begins at home. And certainly the whole idea of becoming carbon literate and going through some kind of carbon literacy training to get a certificate is not only a badge, but it's a real commitment that says, okay, I'm up for this. Okay, I understand how important it is. I understand there's a vital need for me to step up to the plate, but also I understand how I can do that. And it is about taking practical commitment and taking practical actions. And it's also about educating and empowering others around us to seize what I would suggest is an extraordinary opportunity and really an urgent obligation. We've all seen the science, we've all seen the facts, to become carbon literate through really a unified action and become a force for good. In other words, if we can rally others around us as part of this understanding of how important it is, then it is almost like we become those ripples in a pond. You drop a little pebble into the pond and it's just one pebble, but it ripples across everything. It ripples across all of the water that you see. So that's really what we're looking at here, is this scalability of the importance of taking action. And it isn't necessarily taking action at a global, national, or even regional level. This is taking action within your world. So it is very, very achievable, and it is very, very local and personal to you. And we'll explore really what that means in a bit more detail shortly. So what we have done at Cambridge Marketing College is to very much partner with the Carbon Literacy Project. Now, Carbon Literacy Project has some very, very clear goals, which is to increase the level of literacy around the importance of carbon capture, in terms of the importance of understanding what carbon means to the climate crisis, but in a very practical, very pragmatic way, such that you can take action, you can monitor your progress, and you can really see the difference that you're making at an individual level. So today, they have trained with partners such as Cambridge Marketing College, nearly 100,000 individuals from over 7,500 organizations. So these are certified individuals from a range of different organizations that can now claim to be carbon literate. In other words, they understand the impact, they understand the importance, they understand the urgency and the obligation, but they also understand what they can do about it. And it's that vital balance between the knowing and the doing that makes the big difference. So that's what we're going to explore here. So who is the Carbon Literacy Trust? Well, they are a project that initiates and helps deliver carbon literacy in a unique and, as they describe it, award-winning way. And they do have the awards to prove this. What they do is they basically certify people and organizations by their participation in what they describe as a brilliant day's worth of learning about climate change, which the participants themselves help devise. So, for example, at Cambridge Marketing College, what we do is we have a day that is dedicated to marketers and communicators and sustainability professionals. And we focus in on that. So we don't talk necessarily about wider business. We talk about the marketing issues, the marketing impacts, and it's an interactive and informative day in equal measure. So we actually create stuff within the day. So where there's a lot of data, a lot of science, a lot of information to share with you through the day, but we also then through breakouts and interactive sessions begin to craft the playbook. And by that, I mean, is that there is no one definitive way to become carbon sensitive or to be able to roll out initiatives that will drive sustainability. We are all, and I mean all, everybody, even the Patagonias of this world, we are all making this up as we go. But the beauty of the Carbon Literacy Project and the way that we're delivering this is that we are doing this in a collaborative way. So it is about learning from sectors and learning from individual organizations and people about some of the best practice gains that they have achieved. And by doing that, it means that we can always be working with the best in class in that moment. So whilst we don't have the playbook, and nobody does, nobody on the planet has the definitive playbook, we're crafting it as we go. And that's the importance of the Carbon Literacy Project, is this showcasing and showpiecing of the importance of collaborative education. So we can work together to make this thing happen and then roll out things individually and also within our organizations to enable this kind of this ripple effect and this scalability to happen. Now, this isn't going away. This is something that is going to be right at the heart of all of your marketing and communications for the foreseeable future, if not forever. Scientists are 95% certain now that global warming is the result of human activity, which means we are able to address it, because if we've caused it, we can address it through the activities that we do, the processes and the systems that we are operating in, through our consumption of stuff, through the way that we market and encourage others to consume or not. So it kind of redefines everything that we as marketers have in our remit, or at least it should. Interestingly, and this is the real wake-up call for anybody looking to become climate literate, is that the flow of CO2 into the atmosphere is still too high to reach what we call net zero. In other words, the equal balance of the emissions with the recovery of the planet. So this is a problem. So even though there's a lot of talk, there's a lot of rhetoric, there's a new government now here in the UK, we are not doing enough right here, right now to address the problem. So we are still on the slide, on the decline. But all hope is not lost. If enough people become climate literate and carbon literate, if enough people start to take action, real, tangible, local action at an individual and at a business level, then there is an opportunity to stem the tide, so to speak. So now is absolutely the time. If you've ever been considering going deeper into this topic, then now is absolutely the time that you should be really focusing on this. So I'll come back to the whole carbon literacy project and the work that we're doing to support the education piece in a little while. But this is a kind of an area which you can self-serve in. So you don't have to necessarily go down the formal certification route, although certainly if you're a studying marketer and you're looking to develop your career, having that carbon literacy certificate is a big, big tick in the box as far as your CV and your portfolio are concerned. So I would strongly advocate it. But you don't have to. Taking action is taking action. So you could self-serve. And, carbon literacy for you personally, before we get on to talking about at a business level, there are many, many organizations now. There are many, many non-profits. There are lots of NGOs. There are government organizations that are encouraging us and enabling us and sharing the science, sharing the conversational topics that we can be using to educate ourselves, but also then to share with others so we can bring these kinds of conversations into our team meetings. We can raise these at a management level or even at a local grassroots level and start to take action. Cool Earth, Drawdown, Giggy are all places where you can go, and many, many others. You just have to do a search for these kinds of services and these kinds of websites to enable and empower you. And the idea is really, I've got a little mantra, which is educate, accept, think, act, share. In other words, we need to be educating both ourselves and also those around us. Share the climate stats, share the good progress that some organizations and individuals are taking. You only have to look at your LinkedIn feed to know that there are some really empowered and empowering people there doing some amazing work. So educate yourself and share this with others. Accept that you have accountability to rise to the plate, to step up and actually do some stuff yourself. And then think about, okay, where and what and how can I make a start? And then the key thing here is acting. It isn't about just postulating and thinking and strategizing and not taking action. The planet is only going to recognize action. Your stakeholders are only going to recognize action. They don't recognize planning and strategy. They only recognize the behaviors that you're willing to commit to. So certainly stepping up and actually doing things and not waiting for perfection. This is a key thing on the carbon literacy journey. Making a start, taking that first step. So much of the research says it is better to take one step than just to kind of keep planning for perfection, because it's the journey that matters. Often we hear that net zero is not a destination, it's a process. It's a journey. And that is so, so key. The research and the stats bear this out. When you look at the graphs of organizations who are making progress towards net zero, the biggest gains in terms of reducing carbon are based around people taking action today, not tomorrow, not next week, today. Even if it is one tiny little step, that is the acting that the carbon literacy training will teach you is the vital point. So the smallest step that you can take today will make the biggest difference in the future. So I'm not saying stop planning, but reduce planning and start taking action. And as you do, it is your prerogative then to share that information. Obviously you don't share stuff that's commercially sensitive, but everything on your journey pretty much should be open to be shared. Your customers, your stakeholders, particularly your shareholders and those in the organization who are the decision makers, do not necessarily expect, because as I said earlier, there is no playbook. So they don't necessarily expect you to be reporting back huge gains, huge successes, big kind of showcase pieces of work that you're doing. Little incremental steps every single day is the way to do this. So start to share those little gains. Your customers, if you use this commercially, your customers, those who are looking to critique your journey and your progress, are way more interested in those little steps than waiting a year for a big ticket announcement that they will challenge you as being part of the whole greenwash brigade. And that is the last thing that you need, having done all this work and with great intention. So small, little, authentic, open and transparent steps is the way forward. And on our training day, that's something that we talk about a lot, and we help you to kind of plot and plan how that's going to play out. So one element of this carbon literacy is about understanding the role that you personally have and the steps that you personally can take. And then the other role is to then reflect that back into the organization. Now, at an organization or business level, as we might call it, often we need to hook onto something that's bigger than just us individually, because it's great being a sponsor for something like this. but it can sometimes, particularly if you get dissent because people say, oh, I haven't got time for this, or, oh yeah, we'll do that next year. We'll plan that into next year's activities. Can't really do it now. It will feel like pushing water uphill. So the best advice that we can give is to start to hook into things that are credible, tangible, and that have huge gravitas. So something like the SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals, can be, a really nice, neat, international kind of level credibility that you can bring to your arguments. And there are a lot of ways that you can kind of do this. And if you go to the SDGs, sort of that being built by the UN, you will see a lot of kind of guidance and a lot of templates and a lot of work that's been done to be able to translate some of these big ticket global initiatives like eliminating poverty, healthcare for all, sustainable energy, education and opportunity, all of these kinds of things have at the next level and the next level and the next level down of activities that businesses, sectors, teams, and groups and communities can actually take to start to help support these goals. So hooking yourself into something like that can be a really powerful way of moving forward the conversation. But be patient, be resilient, be respectful that sometimes this is challenging for a certain type of organization. And you may well be in an organization where, as I say, it does feel like you're pushing water uphill, which is a very, very hard thing to do if you've ever tried it. But if you happen to be in an organization that we could say is purpose-led and very value-driven, something like Patagonia, who have very much stated that every decision they take, everything that they do, and of course all of their marketing is driven by what is best for planet, what is best for societal good, not just what is best for our profits, then if you're in that kind of an environment, then obviously the journey is going to be a little more in keeping with the culture and the style of the organization. But there are very few organizations like this. Patagonia is very much one that is kind of held up to be, best in class in terms of doing this. M&S, another very good one that has had a huge number of years of green initiatives, very, very well plotted through, very much part of the strategy and very much part of the reporting of the organization. So there's a lot of really, really good best practice out there from a lot of these big brands who are really putting this at a competitive edge position really within their marketing strategies. So if anybody starts to listen in your organization, you can then start, if you do your homework, you can start to share some really interesting examples of organizations that are now getting commercial leverage from doing this right and doing this well. And there is, to my mind, it's a personal view, but there's nothing wrong with that. I think when we talk about marketing sustainability, we need to be very, very clear that we need a sustainable business to be able to do sustainability for the planet. If we don't have a sustainable business, we won't be in business to be able to do that. So it is about striking a balance and being commercially sensitive, being competitively advantageous at the same time as doing good for planet. And there are lots and lots of other kind of initiatives and books and statistics that you can go and do some searching on. So a phrase that I've used there, marketing sustainability, is something that is really kind of catching on now. And a lot of marketers now are starting to build this into their marketing thinking, into their marketing meetings, and into their marketing plans. A lot of us now obviously become very familiar with the likes of B Corp, which is obviously a licensing, if you could call it, organization that licenses out an accreditation for being on this journey. Again, even B Corp is not looking for perfection. You can actually get your B Corp certification by being on the journey, committing to things, taking conscious action, and doing things mindfully. And a lot of the time I've been using this phrase, mindful marketing, and it comes into play here. And it comes into play when we're kind of challenging ourselves and saying, could we do better? What are our companies actually for? What are we actually here to deliver? And not just saying, yes, profit. It is profit. Of course, it's profit if you're in a commercial organization. But what else? How are we going to live? How are we going to survive? What kind of well-being are we going to be facilitating for the people and the animals and the processes and the systems and the communities around our business or our organization? How's this going to look in the future? And there's a fundamental question here when you start to introduce this into your team meetings or just into your kind of chats in the office is, which side are we on? Are we on the side of the organizations who, according to Mark Carney, are going to be the future? Mark Carney, ex-governor of the Bank of England, who said organizations who go on this journey will be the organizations of the future. And I'll paraphrase here when he said the other organizations won't exist. So I think it's pretty clear equation as to which side you want to be on. But the trick here is to just start to build the momentum in some kind of way. And of course, that begins with this whole phrase of carbon literacy. So at the college, what we've got is something that we're calling the Sustainable Marketers Checklist. Now, this is part of the Marketing Sustainability Toolkit, which I'll talk about in a little while. And this is something that you can find on the college's website at marketingcollege.com. And it will check whether or not and at what level you are a sustainable marketer. It's going to help you to identify some of the thinking. It's going to help you to identify maybe some of the gaps. And undoubtedly, there will be gaps. When I look at my own stuff, there are definitely gaps. I've been doing this for a long time, and there are still gaps. And I'm very happy to, share those and talk about those, because it helps to remind me that whilst there is a gap, it's something I need to address. So the idea of the checklist is not to kind of name and shame. It's not to judge. It's just to say, there's a lot of stuff that goes into this mix. There's a lot of things that we need to address and think about. But even just by completing the checklist, we give ourselves a chance to wake up to this. We give ourselves a chance to commit some accountability and responsibility to moving some of these dials up and forward. Because if we don't, who else is there who is going to do this? What is this thing going to look like if we ignore this? Well, I don't think it's going to be a particularly healthy picture from what we've seen so far. On our carbon literacy and marketing sustainability day, we make reference quite a bit during the day to a product or a tool, if you like, that is delivered by the Mindful Collective. And this is all about identifying how to become and taking the journey to becoming a purpose-led marketer. I'm one of the co-founders of the Mindful Collective, and I'm really proud of the tool that we've created there, because it helps to build those conversations. It helps to challenge your initial thinking. If you've been in marketing, and I know quite a few of you listening to this will have been in marketing for quite some time. And I always challenge the fact that it may well be, and again, you can come back and challenge me back, but it may well be that you're working to an old marketing model. A lot of old historical marketing paradigms and the marketing mix, which I say now is completely outdated. And what we do here is we challenge, through using the Mindful Marketing Index, we challenge how purpose-led you really are. And what we're saying is there is a real kind of moral obligation to start local. Start with you, much as I start with me, and say, okay, hands up, I'm not perfect here at this stuff, but I want to find out what I could do. What are my first steps? Where can I find my priorities? Where are the things that are the low-hanging fruit, as I often hear myself calling it? Where are the quick wins? Where can I start to make some progress? And what are the things that are going to take me quite a bit more time because they're a bit deep, or they're a bit heavy, or they're going to involve a lot more people? And of course, a lot of this you can do yourself, but a lot of it you can't do yourself. So this tool, which puts purpose at the core of it, talks about the creation of value. How and where can we create more value as a marketer? Where are our stakeholder relationships going to be most profitable? Where can we start to work with our stakeholders to build the value? And then where can we deliver the value? How can we deliver value? Can we deliver value really efficiently? Can we look at our processes and systems and start to tighten them up? Because some of them are not going to be that efficient. Some of them are going to be very wasteful of time, energy. They're going to consume more than we need to of the Earth's vital resources. So let's just really tighten up and sharpen up. And of course, when you start talking in that kind of language, the words return on investment come in. And so, of course, the final bit is the value return. In this mix of 4 new things in the marketing mix, the value return is, okay, how are we going to reinvest this additional time, energy, and money that we're going to create from doing this stuff right. So what we've created here is a model that gives us an opportunity to look at maybe 4 new Ps. So we're looking at value creation as being product. We're looking at stakeholder value as being people. We're looking at value delivery as being process. And we're looking at value return as being profit. So product, people, process, profit, a new mindful, purpose-led marketers mix that feels so much better than product, place, price, promotion. When you actually look at that in terms of, facilitating consumption, the thing that got us into this mess in the first place, doesn't the old marketing mix feel so outdated? Product, place, price, promotion. Honestly, the way I say it, I just find myself grimacing. Whereas product, people, process, profit, where purpose, another P in this marketing mix, is at the core of everything we do. And this carbon literacy fits straight into that purpose. My purpose as a marketer is not to get people to consume more, it's to co-create value and work with them profitably, and yes, in a scalable growth kind of mindset, but to actually do things that are better for people's well-being, that brings more value to society, and that does great things for the planet to reverse the situation that we're in. Doesn't that sound better as a marketer's role? So this is the whole thing that we talk about as we go through the day. It's challenging, it's pushing the boundaries, and it's starting to kind of really understand where some of this low-hanging fruit that will, by going through those conversations with those new 4Ps, will start to kind of fall out from those discussions. And there are some areas as well that we can start to really focus in on. I found a book that's a few years back now, but it was a real kind of dawn for me of this whole marketing sustainability thing. It kind of really highlighted for me where I can start to take action. And the book Project Drawdown was a really, really heavily researched, very science-based book that actually gave us some real indicators of the top 7 to, I think it was about 100 things that, I don't have the book to hand right in front of me now, but there's about 100 different things that are impacting on us and our planet. And Project Drawdown was all about highlighting those things that as human beings, we should and could be focusing in on first. First one was removing air conditioning and refrigeration, the biggest cause of CO2 emissions globally. Also looking at renewable energy. So for CO2 emissions, looking at wind, solar, nuclear, and wave power rather than fossil fuels. Now, of course, that comes into the media a lot, and we've seen that a little bit drip fed into the recent election. Probably not enough, if you could argue that. But at a local level, who are we getting our power and our energy from at an individual level and at a business level? Forget the rest of the world. Let's just focus in on ourselves and the part we can play and the decisions that we can take. Throwing away less food. 1/3 of all food never makes our plate and is 8% of all emissions globally. Frightening statistic. 2/3 of food makes our plate, but 1/3 never actually gets there. And also eating local and eating seasonal food, not getting food shipped from the other side of the planet and eating locally and in season. It's a really healthy thing to do. And it's something that will really help in terms of your carbon footprint. And significantly, a plant-based diet is on that list. Again, probably no surprise to many of us that that is number 3 on our list of things to consider. So it comes in at 4, which is an interesting one, that there is a carbon superstar here, and it's called bamboo. It's a very, very green, very carbon consuming plant. So if you have a garden, small holding, little allotment or something, maybe even just pots on a piece of decking or on a balcony, get some bamboo planted. Even a small token gesture is better than no gesture at all. It grows incredibly quickly and is a carbon superstar because of the carbon dioxide that it consumes. Number 5 on our list is shipping goods more effectively. Now, if we're in marketing and communications, if we're in business, we have probably got products and services that we ship or that we sell. So how are we doing that? That's the process P in our new marketing mix. Think about the packaging, think about the shipping. Are we delivering this stuff in an optimal way? And you might say, well, I've got a service-based business, there's no actual physical product. But there are things that you're doing. Your website, if you've got a website, your social media, even the emails that you send have got a carbon footprint. So less is definitely better for the planet in all senses. So think about your systems and your processes and your channels and your platforms and your servers, because you can even now have a carbon positive website rather than even net zero. Number 6 on the list is electric car driving. Irrespective of the debate about all the batteries and all of the consumption of raw earth minerals to make the batteries, I obviously don't have the time and energy to go into that one today. It is a contentious debate. But actually, probably the better solution, even than electric car driving, is to walk and cycle more. Actually use human power rather than some kind of generated energy. So, reducing the number of flights, reducing the number of times that you actually get into your car or onto your motorcycle or whatever, and actually just use human power is probably, going to be a way that you can address very quickly point number 6. And number 7, again, is very, very local and very personal to us. Switching to LED light bulbs and using smart thermostats. These things are things that actually probably last a little bit longer as well anyway, but it's just about reducing consumption. Doesn't mean we have to be tight, doesn't mean we have to miss out, but just doing things in a really smart way appears to be a way that we can start to take some of those early steps in a really practical way. So as part of our marketing sustainability and carbon literacy one-day course at the college, we will challenge where your carbon footprint is, and it's predominantly determined by your personal choices. And you do have these choices: what you eat, how you travel, how you fuel your home, what you wear, how you vote, timely one for here today, and where you bank and invest. So those are the things, not necessarily in any particular order, but those are the key contributors to your carbon footprint. And so by just having a base level of carbon literacy, your choices of food, travel, fueling, what you wear, obviously where your clothes and stuff are produced and where they come from, and how you vote, and where you actually place your money, who you're banking with, can have a profound impact on your carbon footprint. So we'll go into that on the day to make this a super practical exercise. This is about understanding the big picture and the whole kind of climate crisis and what's going on, and looking at the trends and just being aware so we can talk in a relatively sort of confident way about some of these things. But then it's about taking action at this kind of level, knowing where those wins are going to happen, knowing the things that you can turn the dial on. Doesn't mean that you have to switch things off, doesn't mean that you have to deprive yourself. That's not what we're talking about. This is about balance and adjustment. That's the key thing that's going on here. So that's why this is really, really important. So if you're interested in learning more and becoming certified carbon literate, and you can see my little certificate there in the top corner, if you would like to join us on the day, we're running the day once a month. We've got an upcoming day in July. You go to marketingcollege.com/events and you'll see it. It'll be one of the first on the list there. But we're also running this day on a monthly basis. So every month we run it and we tune it and we update it with the latest science and statistics, and also some of the case studies that we're hearing from the previous people who have come onto this particular program. So there's a lot to learn, a lot to share, a lot to discuss. There really is a lot to discuss. It's really exciting in the way that the Carbon Literacy Trust have helped us to create this particular day. And if you're interested, there is a Carbon Literacy Action Day. It's one of these days once per year. It's actually the 14th of November, and that is one of the days that we're running the course here at the college. And it is a day that is going to hopefully really put on the map this whole idea of carbon literacy. So that could be a destination point for you and maybe your team. Maybe you come on the day between between now and then you share that with your team as a day where others can get involved and others can start to put their commitments as to what they're going to do personally, and also their team commitments and how they're going to share things. So that would be great if you could get involved in that one as well. Now, I mentioned the Marketers Sustainability Toolkit. Again, you'll find that at marketingcollege.com. If you go to the bottom of the page, you'll see there's a sustainability link, and you can then download the PDF of the toolkit. It's got a whole bunch of resources in there, the checklist that I mentioned to you earlier, lots of statistics, lots of guides as to what you can do and how to do it. And also, really importantly, there's a jargon buster, because once you start your education journey in this whole carbon literacy thing, you will find there's more jargon here than you ever thought was possible. A lot of it is acronyms, a lot of it is quite complicated sounding. It doesn't have to be. So we've tried to take some of the most relevant ones and the most significant ones to marketers and really kind of debunk them, if you like. So this is our carbon literacy jargon buster, but you can also go to ed.net/jargon-buster, and they talk a lot more about this, and they go far deeper into a lot of these phrases. So it doesn't have to be scary. It doesn't have to be ominous. It is at a very, very personal level, very, very simple once you get started. And as I've said before, it is just taking those first footsteps on the journey. So I would really encourage you that your next big footstep is to join us actually on the Carbon Literacy Day that we run at the college. So head over to marketingcollege.com/events for more information and for the dates. I hope to see you then.